I'm not a farmer, clearly, nor have I ever been one. I love dogs, as everybody knows, but I have little to zero knowledge about other animals, unless it's maybe hamsters or the occasional hermit crab. However, every time I hear this reading, whether in Luke's Gospel for today or also in Mark's Gospel, it breaks my heart a bit to think of a herd of pigs becoming controlled by demons, running down a steep bank into a lake and drowning. It makes me sad. Our gospel this morning is a very intriguing one, to say the least. At first glance, it appears Luke's lesson is another one of Jesus' miraculous displays of healing. And it is, to one degree. But today's gospel has more to it than meets the eye. It has more to it than solely the miracle of healing. Diana Butler Bass is a church historian. She's an author and scholar. At one point, she taught at Virginia Seminary, my alma mater. She reminds us that today's story occurs in a geographic area marked by its acculturation to Greek and Roman culture. And I know what you're thinking, Eric, you're just talking about Greek culture because that's just where you went. It fits nicely, but no, that's not the reason. Her point is that this area of the Gerasenes wasn't particularly faithful to Jewish practices. In fact, quite the opposite. The Gerasenes, this area was Gentile territory. Butler Bass reminds that this gospel story happens in Mark as well. Recall with me that Mark's gospel was written shortly after 70 CE. I know that we always think that when we think of Mark's gospel. It's a bit after Rome utterly destroyed the temple in Jerusalem, just completely razed it. A few years before Mark's gospel was written, there was an area called Gerasa, G-E-R-A-S-A. That sounds a lot like Gerasene, doesn't it? It's another ancient Israelite city that was known to have been brutally attacked by the Romans, killing over 1,000 people. I know this isn't happy to hear about, but I have a point. It seems that Mark wanted his readers to remember this brutal Roman attack. Today's gospel isn't as much about miraculous healing as it looks, as much as it is about resistance satire. Jesus encounters this poor, possessed, naked man in the country of the Gerasenes, this Gentile, this foreign territory. This demon-possessed, tormented fella doesn't live in a house as others, but lives in the Gentile cemetery, as it were. The possessed sees Jesus approaching and recognizes him. What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? Responding to Jesus' question, this hurting man states that his name is Legion. The Latin of his name means a large division of imperial soldiers. That's kind of interesting, isn't it? Herd is in swineherd. Herd refers to military recruits in Jesus' day. Dismissing the demons was another military command, with these pigs charging like soldiers going into battle. The pigs charged into the water. Butler Bass makes the point that the possessed man can be likened to the state of humanity under occupation. Humanity that is occupied. Humanity that is oppressed, tormented and robbed of decency and dignity. The legion, allegorically, is the imperial army, strangely enough, who maintained a steady diet of pork. Jesus then sends the demons into the unclean food they ate, destroying themselves. Once the enemy is taken out of the picture, we're able to live a liberated life as God intended all along. Yes, Jesus liberates humanity from all that possesses and all that oppresses us. Whether we are talking about ancient Roman imperialism, Juneteenth celebrating African American Emancipation Day, when the people of Texas were informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves. And the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired laborer. That was General Order number 3 from General Granger. Whether it's about our work to continue to put an end to systemic racism ever after the Emancipation Proclamation, our work toward full inclusion and our embracing, not just accepting, but our embracing of our LGBTQ community. Any person living with addiction to any substance whatsoever, and bless their family and their friends, working to love the family member in the throes of active addiction. Yes, Jesus is a God who liberates so that we can love God, love others, and love self. In our story for today, Jesus gave the demons permission to enter the swineherds, to enter the pigs. We must be willing to take an honest and authentic look at what it is that possesses us, what blocks us, what prevents us from receiving and sharing love. And we must become willing to turn those demons over to Jesus, to acknowledge in the midst of our fears that God might not liberate, fears that we aren't enough, fears that things will just never change. We must become willing to look to the Most High God and become willing to be delivered from oppression, to put our hands and our hearts and our words and our actions into the mix of it, to help in the delivery from oppression, from all that enslaves us today. To become willing to work for the common good, to respect the dignity of every blessed child of God's, to remember along with Paul writing to the women and the men of Galatia that indeed there is no longer Jew or Greek, there is no longer slave or free, there is no longer male or female, for all of you are one in Christ Jesus. We get to work for a more just, a more compassionate and merciful, a more liberating world by how we treat one another right now, as we all have different ideas, ideologies, theologies, all really probably quite radically different from one another, by how we treat each other today, by how we work together as a church, as a city, as a state, a nation, and as a world partner. We partner up with Jesus, the great liberator, every time we remember that life in Christ is always about not only saying, but doing the loving thing. Today, may we remember that wherever and whoever finds themselves oppressed, we are to work alongside of Jesus to liberate in love. Amen.